Burkina
treat them
Faso's
as
Minister
people
of Foreign Affairs
doomed
addressed
to wait in
Monday
the prisons
the UN
of
General
isolation
Assembly
and
high-level
scorn,
debate
waiting
in
for
New York
handouts,
as his
living at
country
the
still
mercy
fights a
and
terrorist
whims
group in the
of
northeast.
great
He said
powers
nearly
that claim to
70%
be
of the
those
territory
the only
was
ones
now under
able
control
to
from
indicate the
40% in
path that others must
2022.
follow, and
Foreign
they
Minister
dictate
Traore also
how others
called
must
out
live.
what he
We
termed as
must
propaganda against
focus
Burkina
our
Defense
efforts
Forces.
on
He
the
highlighted the
common
professionalism
goals
and the
of
stellar
our
conduct of the country's
organisation.
defense and
An
security
organisation
forces,
whose primary
FDS,
goal is
that is
to promote the
demonstrated through their
well-being of
participation
peoples
in
by
peacekeeping
guaranteeing that they can
operations
live in
and
peace and
recognise it
security.
time
This
and
urgent
time
and
again at this
overriding
very
need
podium.
to
The
build a
ongoing
new world
training
together
and
and work
examination of our
together to
defence
create a
forces
fairer
and
world
volunteers in
is
international
entirely
humanitarian law
valid
guarantee
in
that
the
our
current
professional
context.
conduct is
A
unimputable
context
in respecting
dominated
human
by
rights,
protracted
foreign
crises,
powers
complex
financing
conflicts, and
and
unequal
supporting
economic
terrorism.
governance, which
Karamoko
further
Jean-Marie
divides
Traore
states
said,
and
the
exacerbates
alliance of
differences
sole
between
states primary
people. The
to protect the
consequences of such
populations of the
division
Sahel who
are
have suffered from the
human
security
tragedy.
and humanitarian
This
crisis,
disastrous state of
and
affairs
against whom deadly
is the
measures were
result
deliberately
of a
enforced
multilateralism
to further
standing at a
exacerbate their
crossroads, a
suffering. In
multilateralism
that
which is
regard, he
exhausted,
reiterated
a
his country's
multilateralism
accusation
whose
against Ukraine
reputation has been
as a
neutered
sponsor of
time and
terrorists in
time
the
again
Sahel. The popular
by
support and
predatory
enthusiasm
actions
sparked by the
by
creation
certain
of
member
the Alliance
states
of
who've
Sahel
decided
States
that they are
(AES)
the
can be
masters
partly
of the
explained
world,
by the
and as
failure and
such that they've
incapacity of
built their foreign
sub-regional
policy on
institutions
subjugating and
and
exploiting
mechanisms
other
to
states. We
respond to
need to be
security concerns
properly
of our
concerned
populations,
by
which are
this
legitimate.
issue,
The creation
because
of the
harmony
alliance
and the
has been
cohesion of our
life-saving,
world
and it
is
will be
at
our
stake. For
salvation.
that reason,
Its
Burkina
primary
Faso
aim is to
would like to
protect the
take this
populations
opportunity
of
to
the
once again
Sahel
appeal
who have
to
suffered from the
reason, to
security
the wisdom of all
and
of us. We'd like to
humanitarian
appeal to
crisis,
the powers of
and
our
against
world
whom deadly
to
measures were
prioritize
deliberately
an
enforced to
inclusive
further
global
exacerbate their
governance,
suffering.
which
He
is
said the
rid of
AES was still waiting
hegemonizing
for the UN
visions.
Security Council, which
And
it appealed
if
to
we can
last
do
August and
that,
from which it
the
expects strong
UN's glory
decisions.
will once
He
again
extended
be
his
restored.
country's support
Mr.
of
President,
a reform of UN
restoring
Security
the
Council
integrity of
to include
our
Africa
territory by
that will enable
ensuring
us to
our
establish the
people can live
universal
safe
character
and
of the
enjoy their
UN
property,
and repair the
remodeling
persistent
political,
injustice
administrative,
against Africa.
economic and
He
financial government.
concluded.
I took an oath to defend my homeland, and I will sacrifice myself on the battlefield to protect my co-citizens against all danger. I wish to live free, proud, and in dignity. I am contributing to the development of my sub-region. Mr. President, these aspirations are the beacons which guide my government's action. The struggle of that government is to create a society in which the men and women of the Sahel can live free, proud, and in dignity. The theme of our session is one we highly appreciate because it is so relevant. In reality, it unveils a concern as crucial and long-standing as the United Nations itself, a theme which is tackled by almost all of the debates that occur here. What the theme really conveys is that now we're no longer simply thinking about what to do or how to do it. What we need to do now is give life to our speeches through tangible actions. We must go beyond words and finally take action to usher in a fairer world rid of prejudice and stereotypes which seek to treat certain peoples or certain parts of the planet as second class. Treat them as people doomed to wait in the prisons of isolation and scorn, waiting for handouts, living at the mercy and whims of great powers that claim to be the only ones able to indicate the path that others must follow, and they dictate how others must live. We must focus our efforts on the common goals of our organization. An organization whose primary goal is to promote the well-being of peoples by guaranteeing that they can live in peace and security. This urgent and overriding need to build a new world together and work together to create a fairer world is entirely valid in the current context. A context dominated by protracted crises, complex conflicts, and unequal economic governance, which further divides states and exacerbates differences between people. The consequences of such division are human tragedy. This disastrous state of affairs is the result of a multilateralism standing at a crossroads, a multilateralism which is exhausted, a multilateralism whose reputation has been neutered time and time again by predatory actions by certain member states who've decided that they are the masters of the world, and as such they've built their foreign policy on subjugating and exploiting other states. We need to be properly concerned by this issue because the harmony and the cohesion of our world is at stake. For that reason, Burkina Faso would like to take this opportunity to once again appeal to reason, to the wisdom of all of us. We'd like to appeal to the powers of our world to prioritize an inclusive global governance, which is rid of hegemonizing visions. And if we can do that, the UN's glory will once again be restored. Mr. President, restoring the integrity of our territory by ensuring our people can live safe and enjoy their property, remodeling political, administrative, economic and financial governance so that they can further the ambitions is one of our people can further their ambitions is one of our goals. We also need to usher in reforms and development initiatives which will lead to shared prosperity and economic and social progress which is sustainable. These are all areas of focus of our president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. And with his leadership and far-sightedness, we shall prevail. The people of Burkina Faso has decided to affirm and embrace its sovereignty, putting an end to its subjugation. It has demonstrated extraordinary resilience, just as all the people of the Sahel have done. They have understood the importance and magnitude of our struggle and as such have joined the ranks of our defence and security forces. With this tireless support, thanks to patriotism, the genius, the bravery and the spirit of sacrifice of the sons and daughters of Burkina Faso, our country has notched up success we couldn't even have hoped for. We've also had significant successes in our committed fight against terrorists instrumentalized, deployed from a distance and financed by neo-colonial powers. Here I wish to pay a much-deserved tribute to civilians and members of our military who have fallen on the battlefield, and I bow down before their memory. Mr. President, we're seeing strategic reforms and visionary reforms where our troops are concerned. We've built their capacity, we've reorganized our fighting forces on the ground, and in so doing we've increased our means of our resources to act, and that has been our salvation, because ultimately we have won back all of the areas that were overrun by criminals and their allies. Turning now to statistics, almost 70% of our territory is now under state control. That compares to 40% in 2022. That turning tide has allowed displaced persons to return. Schools have been able to reopen in less than 2 years. Our taking back of our territory has allowed more than 700,000 people to return to their villages. That action has allowed almost 1,500 schools to reopen their doors, offering the opportunity to so many pupils to return to school and continue their studies. They've long yearned for that time to come. These results compel admiration and spark great hope. They've been made possible by the endeavours of our defence and security forces, by the patriotic commitment of our volunteers for the defence of the homeland, and by the staunch support of the diaspora and the outpouring of solidarity they've showed. This patriotic mobilisation of all of our society has allowed us to collect some 99 billion CFA, that is $165 million in 2023 alone. That far exceeded initial estimates. In other words, you can see here how determined our people are to finance and wage a struggle against terrorists and their allies. Mr. President, at this very moment, we are notching up successes in our offensive against obscurantist forces, against their acolytes that have a questionable, shady reputation. At the same time, we're seeing that we are the victims of a defamation and smear campaign being waged against our soldiers. They are being accused of violating human rights without the slightest smidge of evidence being brought forward. This propaganda has been cobbled together and aims to lower the morale of Burkinabe patriots and to sabotage their legitimate struggles. And that's happening quite simply because the acolytes of chaos have not yet understood the dynamic underway. They haven't yet understood our desire to free ourselves of all paternalism and condescending guardianships. My country would like to take this opportunity to convey its deep gratitude to all countries and sincere partners who have supported us in our glorious journey towards inclusive social and economic development. Here, I'd like to invite all UN member states to pay no heed whatsoever to this media smear campaign, which, and this is patently clear, is none other than the expression of the distress of terrorists and their sponsors because they have been thwarted. I'd also like to reassure you of the professionalism and stellar conduct of our defence and security forces that has been demonstrated through their participation in peacekeeping operations and recognised time and time again at this very podium. The ongoing training and examination of our defence and security forces and volunteers in international humanitarian law guarantee that our professional conduct is unimpeachable when it comes to respecting human